Well, thanks to the last two presenters for really setting the stage for what I'm going to be talking about. I'm going to pick up a little bit from where Trevor left off and talk about restoration efforts, not only along the Riverfront Trail, but elsewhere here in the Grand Valley and along the lower Gunnison River. So after day 4 of this conference, I'm sure you can all recite the Tamara's Coalition's mission statement verbatim. But I did want to point out that we were initially formed as a subcommittee of the Riverfront Commission to focus on Tamara's issues here in the Grand Valley. And as you all know, our mission has expanded quite a bit over the last decade since we were initially formed, but we still have strong roots here in the valley and remain committed to improving our riparian related with myriad partners. I think you're all becoming pretty familiar with the different strategies that we use to try to achieve our mission and our vision and goals. As you've heard, we've had the Riparian Restoration Connection website built to provide funding and training opportunities. We are updating our website and improving that amenity for all of our partners, and we're continuing our monitoring and compilation of data of Tamara's leaf beetle monitoring. As you heard from Kristen Jesperson earlier this week, we're working on improving funding opportunities through unique avenues. And as you heard from others, we're developing a cross-watershed collaboration network along with other partners as well. You're here at our conference, which is under our Empower Practitioners strategy. We're continuing to coordinate trainings and workshops. And what I'm here to talk about today is our coordination and support of those landscape scale partnerships with an emphasis on the partnership here in the Grand Valley. So you guys have heard about all these different partnerships over the last 4 days, and this map just shows a visual representation of those partnerships that are primarily focused on tamarisk and Russian olive removal in the Colorado River Basin and also on the Front Range of Colorado. And I'll be focusing again locally. So the Desert Rivers Collaborative, otherwise known as the Grand Valley Riparian Restoration Collaborative, for those of you that are confused, was just formed this last summer. The former name was chosen as we were applying for some grants and wanted to get going on projects, but we later decided to also focus on the lower Gunnison River as well and wanted the name changed to better encompass that. And our mission is similar to a lot of the other partnerships. We're interested in protecting, restoring, and maintaining native riparian corridor here in Mesa County as well as parts of Delta County. And we want to do that through the development of community partnerships. This is just a close-up of our focus area. You can see we're bound on all sides pretty much by other collaborative efforts. You'll hear later today about the Middle Colorado Watershed Partnership, and then you can see we abut the Dolores as well as the Southeast Utah Riparian Partnership. And we are primarily focused on the river corridor as well as tributaries. So we have a number of goals, and again, these probably look similar to other collaborative efforts. We're looking at protecting and restoring habitat for fish and wildlife species, and where appropriate, we're also interested in improving river function. In some areas, there may be some flood control work or erosion mitigation work that's going on too. There's been interest in improving water quality, or at least getting a better handle on where there might be some issues with selenium and selenium, or better looking at options to help mitigate for those impacts. And again, there's a real emphasis on fostering community pride and livelihood through the improvement of recreation opportunities, as you heard earlier with other presenters. That's a really important component of this community. The partnership is open to everyone, and participation is voluntary. There's nobody that's mandated to be there from the federal or state agency. We really want to support landowner goals, whether that's private landowners or a federal or state agency as well. And as all these collaborative efforts have emphasized, we really want to maximize and share resources. And not that that hadn't been occurring in the Valley, but we just wanted to formalize that a little bit more through this partnership. And everybody else was making partnerships, so it seemed like we needed one here in the Valley. And then something else that was really important to partners was to prioritize projects so that we're really getting a high return on investment, and that we weren't doing work and then not having maintenance to take care of those properties. So a lot of the similar players are involved in the partnership, as was mentioned earlier. lot of the local partners, so we can look through that list. We, since we're just getting formalized, we don't have a memorandum of understanding or partnership agreement at this point, but that's something we've been discussing with different partners. I just really want to emphasize that this wouldn't be possible without all the work that the Riverfront Commission and our various partners have done, and have really brought awareness to the riverfront. I had not watched that video about Watson Island until last weekend, and I think it's easy to forget how neglected the river was in this community for so long. And now there's this renewed interest in really getting out on the trails, and people want to see native vegetation along those trails while they're out. It's been a great time to try to pull partners together, because we are continuing to learn from all the different partnerships that are out there, as you guys have been hearing for the last 4 days. The picture in the upper right just says Sparky and Dr. Lair out on a tour that was held on the Dolores, and we're trying to bring these sorts of field trips to our partners here and also communicate lessons learned from these other watersheds. And as you guys are aware, the beetles have been established here in the valley and are seen as another management tool by various partners, and can provide a little more hope of getting a handle on the Tamarack issues. We also hosted a couple days of workshops with various partners to get them out to look at different sites, see what their other people in the valley have been working on, and see what's possible. Some of these areas have been worked on for 10 years and might not have the results that you may expect, but in other areas, there was really great recovery in the native vegetation. So just gave people a chance to see the gamut of what's possible, and also just to talk with one another. The Tamarack Coalition has gotten its hands dirty here at Watson Island, the site that was talked about earlier. We've used this as our restoration playground of sorts to try out different techniques, different tools, and again, we're trying to convey to our partners what we've learned from those experiences, good, bad, or otherwise. There's a picture here. We had the Army Corps or National Guard out. They bulldozed a bunch of tamarisk and then burned it, and that was a couple training opportunities for those organizations. We also completed a series of maps from Palisade to the Loma boat ramp as part of an Army Corps 206 project. And these restoration recommendations were not funded by the Army Corps, but I think they provide a really great tool to our partners. This isn't anything that anybody is beholden to use, but for a lot of people that don't do this on a day-to-day basis, it gives them a place to start. And we just went through and floated or walked many stretches of the river and used aerial interpretation to come up with these different polygons and then restoration recommendations for each of those areas. And those are available to anybody that wants to use them. Another thing that we've been doing is working to develop native plant materials for our partners, and this started off developing plant materials for the Dolores and Escalante. You can see pictures of the long stem, that's a tall pot plant, and then our cottonwood plantation. And we really wanted to try to develop materials that could be used in areas that aren't receiving irrigation. And after Amanda's talk today, I need to talk to you more about this cottonwood pole planting idea, but this is our cottonwood pole plantation, and the idea behind it is as much like Amanda spoke about, you can cut the poles and plant them, and then these will resprout, and ideally this plantation will have a life of about 10 years that it can be cut and then resprout and plant again. And there's been different partners locally that have started utilizing these cottonwood poles. So we recently received a sizable grant from the Colorado Water Conservation Board to implement 5 on-the-ground projects here in the valley. Most of these projects are focusing on tamarisk and Russian olive removal and then subsequent restoration with native plant materials. We did have one project where a partner in Palisade was armoring a bank and wanted to revegetate with native plant materials, and that's what this photo is from. And we have received other funding for our work on Watson Island that helped get more money to apply for the grant from CWCB. And then Mason County also applied for a grant through Great Outdoors Colorado to utilize the Youth Corps. And the Youth Corps will be utilized on several, if not all, of these projects that I just mentioned. And this map just provides an overview of where those projects are located. You can see most of them are centrally located here in downtown, and then also in the town of Palisade. One thing that I'm really excited about, and I haven't stopped talking about, is our recent decision to moved forward with the City of Grand Junction to help start a native plant pollinator garden out at Watson Island, and really just in the early stages of talking about this, but we do have the restoration plan for the site already, and we thought it'd be a great opportunity to involve more kids in the project and also different people in the community, including potentially artists. I love these pictures of these homes for bees that I can't remember where they're from, but there's a metal artist who designed those. And, so we'll be moving forward with that here this summer. We're currently completing a GIS analysis to prioritize sites. As I mentioned earlier, we really want to work where sites will be maintained, and we'll know we'll have committed partners to improve those sites. We have a couple of training opportunities coming up. We have a groundwater well training course on Monday. If anybody's interested, come talk to me. We'll be out in Palisade, and we'll have half the morning inside, and then the rest of the day we'll be out installing groundwater wells to look at the water table levels, and we're also going to discuss how they can be used for water quality sampling. I've been working, or Julie's been doing all the work, but coming up with monitoring protocols that are easy to implement by our partners, as well as site assessment tools. And then we've also been working with Gigi Richard and Tetra Tech to come up with some geomorphic monitoring transects that can be installed along the river corridor to assess what impacts tamarask removal and or biocontrol might have on fish habitat, because there hasn't been a lot of studies to assess that I'm aware of. So if you want to learn more, come talk to me, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.